It wasn't the first time I'd heard that I was too old for him, but it was the first time I ever believed it. The words were cold, like a slap across the face. "You're old and dead to me." He said it like it was nothing, like he wasn't shattering everything I'd ever known. And in that moment, I realized, if I was dead to him, maybe it was time to bury everything else too. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are listening. Your support means everything. Let me give you some context. My name's Ava. I've been married to Chris for over 12 years, which looking back feels like a lifetime ago. We had everything a couple could want. The house, the cars, the vacations. We built this life together. The dream life. Or at least, that's what I thought it was. We bought the house 7 years ago. A huge, modern mansion in the hills. I always thought it was a bit too big for just the two of us. But Chris loved it. It was his dream, really. He was a go-getter. An entrepreneur who thought he could change the world. And I supported him. But somewhere along the way, things started to change. The house became less of a symbol of success and more of a prison at first. It was small things. He'd come home later than usual. The conversation started to feel one-sided. But I was too busy with my own work to notice how far apart we were growing. And besides, he always reassured me, said we'd make it through, that he needed to work harder to give me the life I deserved. But then, a few months ago, the comments started. "You're not as young as you used to be. You don't keep up with me anymore." Little digs that started to feel personal. And that day, that horrible day, it all came to a head. It was a Thursday. I remember because I had just finished going over some plans for a new business venture I was thinking of launching. I was excited, actually this new project could be a game changer for me. But when Chris came through the door that evening, something was different about him. He was distant, almost angry. I tried to kiss him on the cheek, and he pulled back. That's when I knew. He sat me down at the dining table, that massive, cold marble table where we used to talk about everything, and told me point blank that he was done. "You're just not the person I married," he said. "I can't even look at you anymore." I was stunned. "What do you say to that? What do you mean?" I asked, barely above a whisper. He sighed like he was explaining something simple. "You've gotten old, Ava. You're stuck in the past. You're not what I need anymore. I need someone who can keep up with me, not someone who's dead to me." I blinked, trying to process his words. "Dead to you?" I echoed, my voice cracking. "Chris, we've been through so much together. We built this life together. How can you just... I'm not in love with you anymore," he said, cutting me off. "I've been thinking about this for a long time. It's over." That was it. He'd already made up his mind. He had no intention of fixing anything. Just like that, our marriage, everything we built, was over. I tried to fight back the tears, but I couldn't stop them. The house felt so empty, even though we were surrounded by things, so much stuff. I had no idea who I was anymore. Who had I become? The woman Chris didn't want anymore. I spent the night walking around the house, looking at the rooms we had decorated together. The living room, where we'd spent hours on the couch watching movies. The kitchen, where I cooked him dinner every night. The bedroom, where we had both laughed and cried together. Every memory now felt like it was suffocating me. The next morning, I woke up with a decision already made. Chris wasn't around that day. He was out, probably meeting with someone younger. Someone who wouldn't remind him of how far he'd fallen from the man he used to be. I didn't care. I was done too. The old Ava? She was gone. I went into the garage and pulled out my old journals. You might call it crazy, but I started writing everything down. I wrote about how I had poured my heart into this marriage. How I had supported Chris through every high and low. And then, It hit me. I had supported him. I had given him everything I had. But this house, this life, it wasn't mine anymore. Not when he looked at me like I was a stranger. Not when he called me dead to him. I knew what I had to do. I made a call. To the realtor. I didn't even hesitate. I want to sell the house, I told her. I'll be out by the end of the week. And then, I did something that made me feel oddly powerful. I started digging. Now, let me be clear. I didn't bury anything literal. But I did something that felt like a burial to me. I packed up everything that was ours, the photos, the mementos, the things that reminded me of a life I wasn't living anymore. And I buried it in the backyard in a huge metal box. I buried the memories. I buried the years. And when I was done, I felt like I could finally breathe. I didn't tell Chris what I was doing. He didn't deserve to know. He had left me emotionally. Anyway. So, I took control. I made that house mine again, but not in a way he'd ever understand. By the time Chris came home, everything was packed. I was ready to walk away. He tried to talk to me, to make it sound like we could work things out, but I was done. The Ava he once knew wasn't coming back. I left the keys on the counter, walked out the door, and never looked back. A month later, I heard from the realtor. The house had sold for almost double what we paid for it. The new owners were thrilled. But it wasn't about the money. I was free. Free from the ties that had bound me to a man who couldn't see me for who I really was anymore. Chris called me a few times after that, trying to reach out. He wanted to talk about things. But every time, I just stared at my phone and hit decline. It was funny, in a way. I'd spent so many years building a life with him, thinking we were in this together. But in the end, I realized that I could build something better on my own. Maybe that $1 million house wasn't worth all the pain and the heartache. But burying it, letting go of everything that was keeping me stuck, was the best thing I could have done. I was no longer dead to him. I was alive, finally living for myself.